Is it possible to write a novel in a month? Yes, of course it is. And in fact, I'm of the perhaps controversial opinion that it's easier to write a novel more quickly than it is more slowly. There are a few reasons for this, and these happen to be your tips for actually getting it done. So let's go. Ever heard of science? I'm a big fan of science. I'm a bigger fan of science than I am expert in science. So let's talk science the merry way. First, Parkinson's Law. Parkinson's Law is the idea that human behavior expands to fill the time and space available to us. So if we give ourselves a certain amount of time, we take it. I experience this phenomenon most intimately when it comes to packing for a trip. If I give myself 20 minutes to pack, I'll pack in 20 minutes. If I give myself 3 days, I will spend 3 days. This is also true of novel writing. If you give yourself a month, you'll finish in a month. Plus, research shows that the more time we spend on a task, the less productive we become. So just because you could spend 2,000 hours over the course of a year writing a novel doesn't mean you need to spend those 2,000 hours. And if you're like most humans, a year-long deadline is really hard to get your head around. I'm not saying it's impossible to accomplish, but for most of us, when we set a year-long deadline, what we actually have to do is set nearer-term milestones to reach in order for us to feel motivated. It's impossible for me to fathom next December when it's this December, but I can fathom February, and do you know what I can really fathom? January. Okay, now you may be thinking, don't I have to write for hours and hours a day in order to finish a novel in a month? Maybe, but probably not. You need to write between 1,500 and 2,000 words a day on average to have a respectable draft that will be on the shorter side, but that you can beef up in revision. I suggest writing in bursts of 25 minutes, which is about as long as we human beings focus well. Science. Okay, so let's break that down. For some of us, 2,000 words would take about 3 hours. So that would be 6 25-minute bouts. I could do maybe 2 in the morning before work, 1 at lunch, and 2 in the evening. For others, 2,000 words may only take an hour to an hour and a half, or 2 to 3 bursts. You could knock those out in the morning, at lunch, or at night. But Mary, you're thinking, isn't the novel that I write more quickly going to be worse than the novel I write slowly? No, and you know why? S-C-I. Okay, this isn't actually science, but it is a parable. You may have heard the parable of the ceramics class. A ceramics teacher tells one group of students that they're just going to be judged on quantity, the number of pots they produce, and another group that they're going to be judged only on quality. They have to make 1 perfect pot. What happened come grading time? The best pots came from the group that was working really quickly, because while they were busy churning out work, the other group was suffering from analysis paralysis, which I think is a term I just invented, and it rhymes. You probably know this feeling, freezing under pressure, feeling like you're not going to meet your own impossible standards. It turns out this feeling is actually a luxury. It's perfectionistic, and we only get to indulge in it if we have the time to. If we don't give ourselves the time to suffer from analysis paralysis, aka Parkinson's Law, then we won't. Okay, here's one last idea for actually getting it done if the 25-minute bursts idea doesn't appeal to you. You can think of a novel as broken down into scenes, somewhere between 100 and 200. If you write 4 scenes a day, that's 120 scenes. 120 scenes is probably a respectable novel draft. Again, you'll have to do some work on revision, but everyone has to revise. It's not like a novel you write in a year doesn't need revision. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe for more writing tips, and let me know in the comments if there's something you want me to cover in the future. You can also download my free ebook, 5 Rules I Broke to Sell My First Novel, at the link below.